Andy Hodgson, thank you very much for joining us and talking to RunUltra about your exciting new race, the Falklands Ultra. Please tell us some more about it, starting with how did the whole concept come about?
Well, thank you for having me. This is a long journey. So it all started to come about 10 years ago right now. So the inaugural race is going to be next April, which is April 2023. So it'll have been 11 years in gestation. So wow. Back in 2012, my best mate was stationed down there with the RAF, and he spent 12 months down there. I think he was only meant to be spending 6 months down there. He loved it so much down there, he ended up staying for an extra 6 months. And the whole time he was there, he said, Andy, you've got to come down here. It's the most amazing place in the world. It's this adventure playground, and it's so remote, so removed from most of civilization. And you know, if you love the outdoors, you absolutely love it here. He knows me, he knows I do love the outdoors. And he says, you know, the wildlife, the birds, the animals, you know, they're not used to humans. So you know, you can be somewhere miles from the next nearest human, and the penguins and the seals and the sea lions, they're not concerned about you. So you know, this is a country the size of Wales, and it's got the population the size of a small English village, so 2,000 or 3,000 people. So massively lacking in people. That's not a bad thing, you know. It's a good thing. And so, oh man, this sounds amazing. And he keeps sending me photos and videos of what he got up to, you know, the beaches and the hills and so on. And I said, oh, I've got to get out there, And I never did. And he came back. I was like, oh my God, I've missed my opportunity to go out there. Right. What are the big events? What are the big international events that are out there that'll give me an excuse to go to the other end of the world? Because you kind of need an excuse because it's a long way away. It is the other side of the planet. So what's the big ultramarathon or adventure race or something? What's going to give me the excuse to go out there? And he said, well, there's no international events there, because it's so difficult to get there. The communications, the flights and things. There's like a Ministry of Defence flight, but you know, there's only a few seats, and you can be bumped off those. And there is a commercial flight, but it's patchy whether it makes it, and they don't always run it. And so it's very difficult to run an international event there. So there aren't really any international events. There's a marathon in Stanley each year, and there are 1 or 2 international participants, but it really is a domestic race. So we thought, well, hang on, you described this place as a adventurer's paradise, this playground, this wilderness playground, and yet it's not being tapped. It's completely untapped. There's no big international event. So let's organize one. So this was 2012, and we thought, right, we can put together a big ultra marathon. That's what I love doing. We'll put it together, and then of course it took a long time, because the logistics are not straightforward for things that are trivial in say organizing a race in the UK, because I'm also race director for a race in the UK in Hampshire called the Clarendon Marathon. Just get a bit of a plug for that one as well. 26 miles from Salisbury to Winchester. But say there's a river crossing, you know, you can build a bridge. Any materials we need in the Falklands for building, say, river crossings, will need to get shipped down there. So things that are quite trivial in the UK, it's a big mission. We've got to ship them 8,000 miles. Yeah, it's not like we could even chop trees down. You know, the country doesn't have any indigenous trees. Wow. So you can't just, in an emergency, chop some trees down, make some planks of wood or anything. You can't do that. You've got to get it sent down there. So there's a lot of challenges. And then we're all ready to go a few years ago. And then of course COVID struck, and so that's caused a couple of delays. But finally, after 13 years, next April, we're finally going to have the inaugural Falklands Ultra. So long time in the coming, and it's going to be so exciting to see it finally taking off.
And what is your runner going to be faced with then? He's entered your race. How does he get there? And what will happen during the week that you're out there?
Well, he or she.
Yes.
What are they going to be faced? They're going to be faced with a fantastic course. It's a really historic course. So, although we're out there for the week, only a couple of days is actually going to be around the race, because it's a single stage race. So 100 miles or 100 kilometers. We've set aside 2 days for that. Some of the fast guys, they'll get that done in 16, 17, 18 hours. But we allow down to about 40 hours. So, we're supporting walking pace. So looking at the race, I suppose the key feature of it is that it follows the route taken by British forces in 1982 in the operation to liberate the islands. So for those that know their history, they'll notice the first bit of the route is back to front through necessity. So the race starts at Goose Green, where there was a big battle, and it goes up to the highest point on the island, mountain called Mount Usborne. And so from the top of Mount Usborne, you can see over a huge area of the country, and then goes down to San Carlos Bay, where the task force landed. So that bit of the route is back to front. And then from San Carlos, it's going with the flow, if you like, of the historic route, and it goes across the whole of East Falkland, and it goes through all the major battle sites. So Mount Longdon, Mount Kent, Two Sisters, Wireless Ridge, Tumbledown, and then it finishes going into Stanley, so outside the town hall in Stanley. So it's a route with historic meaning, and of course for those of us of a certain age, those of us who were children, young, or even those who were old, who in 1982, a lot of those place names will resonate, because we've heard them so many times. We heard them. I was 5 or 6 at the time of the conflict, and places like Tumbledown and Goose Green. We kind of, they exist in our psyche. We kind of are familiar with them. We know them, but we don't actually know them. So this is an opportunity to go and visit and put faces to names, if you like, but faces of the actual location. Yeah. So that's the main bit, but of course we're down there for a whole week, so you get to do the whole Falklands experience, which for those who love the outside is going to be an absolutely unbeatable experience, because as mentioned earlier, I mean it's a wildlife adventurous paradise. You'll be able to go kayaking, rock climbing. I mean, the kayaking, I mean, the beaches are absolutely pristine there. I mean, there's no pollution on the whole island. There's no rubbish. There's no air pollution. There's no light pollution. So at night time, especially for those runners who are going to be running through the night, if it's a clear night, you'll be able to see every single cloud in the sky. So it'll be a particularly magical experience. Wow. Unless at that particular time the weather's closed in and you can only see this far in front of your face, because one of the big defining feature of the Falklands is the volatility of the weather. All of the runners, they will experience sunshine, they will experience rain, and rain and hail, maybe some snow, and that'll be all before breakfast on the first day. It'll change very quickly. So people can be kayaking. Might be kayaking with penguins and seals and dolphins and so on. So we're there for a week. It's a fairly I was going to say a packed schedule, but nothing's forced on anybody. So if you want to go and explore the island on your own, you can do that. If you need guides, we'll provide those as well. There'll be a whole series of acclimatization runs. So each morning there'll be local runners that can take groups out before breakfast, out for a run around Stanley, around some of the hills around Stanley, or down to the beaches. So if you want to go running with penguins, maybe running alongside penguins as opposed to running, I don't know if maybe they'll run along with us. I don't know, we'll find out.
So the race itself, it doesn't, you don't land and it starts the next day.
There's a possibility it would. That definitely isn't the ideal. So there is a provisional schedule, and so we're in country in the Falklands for 7 days, and the race is scheduled for day 5 and 6, if I remember correctly, or possibly 4 and 5. But depending on the weather forecast, it may be that we have to move it a little bit. But assuming that the weather is on our side, then it'll be towards the end of the week. So there's time to adjust to the time zone. There'll be time to have some of those acclimatization races. There's an acclimatization race as well as the runs in the morning, so you can get used to the terrain. So you can make selection of footwear and so on, and kit. Yeah. Excellent.
You've mentioned to me before that the whole island is behind this.
Well, it is. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. I've never encountered anything like this. Where it is that the population of the country is all behind the event, and it feels like they're pretty much shutting off the borders to support the event. So we're likely to be the only non-islanders on the island at the time, and there's a lot of people who will be supporting the event. I mean, there's the population of 2,500 people, and hopefully there'll be between 100 and 200 of us competitors. That we'll be representing about 10% of the population of the country, and that's quite a unique experience in itself. And of course, this is the biggest event to happen in the Falklands. So yeah, the whole country is geared towards delivering a really epic experience for everyone.
It does sound amazing, actually, I must say. And I imagine the islanders must be really excited to have something, really positive to reflect the islands, rather than just having the past and a war.
Well, I mean, there is a lot more to the islands than just the Falklands War, and absolutely. I mean, it's a place of wildlife and beauty and landscape, and there's no getting away from the fact that a lot of people know the Falklands because of the conflict in 1982, and certainly the race isn't all about that. And we will be acknowledging the events of 1982, and we've got a number of Argentine as well as British veterans coming and actually participating in the race. So we're very much apolitical and all-encompassing, and we're trying to celebrate all that's good about the Falklands, and also commemorate and remember everything that's been, I suppose, violent and not ideal in its recent past. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And you still got a few places left, I think.
We've got places available. They're selling quickly at the moment. When we sell out because of the size of the population, the size of the country. We can't just keep offering more and more places. People can book online if they go to FalklandsUltra.com. They'll be able to pay the deposit, secure their place, and then we're flying next April the 8th, if I remember correctly. So that's flying from Santiago. So the trip takes it all starts in Santiago. So you've got to make your own way to Santiago, but we do have a travel partner that can help you get to Santiago from wherever you are in the world. And likewise on the way back, it's back to Santiago in Chile, and then you can either spend more time in Santiago, which again is a fantastic city. If you've never been there, there's plenty to explore there as well if you want to extend your adventure.
Wow, it does sound like a really amazing adventure, actually. Definitely a trip of a lifetime.
It is, and especially good if you like penguins as well. And who doesn't like penguins?
Running with penguins. That's yeah. We'll definitely we look forward to seeing the photos of ultra runners running with penguins. See who's faster. Depending on the end, the start or the finish of the 100-miler.
Yeah, I can remember the last time I did a long ultra, and there were distinct stages where I was much slower than a penguin would have been.
Definitely. Well, thank you very much for talking to me, Andy, and all the best with it.
Well, thank you very much, Kate.